Well, hey folks, my name is Brad. If you happen to be new to my channel, I explore the mountains of Vermont searching for treasure with my metal detector. But today I was invited out by my new friend Rebecca to this amazing property. Right over here is an old home built in 1790. It's still standing. There are still people living in it. And over here, over my left shoulder, is an old family cemetery. Many, many headstones are from the middle of the 1800s. Now we're going to spend the most of our time today metal detecting around the house, but we will go take a peek at that cemetery a little bit later. Now, if this is one of the first of my videos that you've seen, I publish one of these every single Friday. So if you like what you see here today, consider hitting that subscribe button or just come on back next week. Rebecca and I are going to get our metal detectors turned on, see what we can find. '86. I got a very pretty buckle of some kind. Well, we've been on the lookout for shoe buckles and knee buckles and anything from that time period, late 1700s. And what we have here, I think, is a buckle or perhaps a brooch or a sash buckle. I'm not convinced it's from that long ago. Probably late 1800s, but it looks like there's a whole bunch of stones around the perimeter here. Yeah, look at that. All brass construction, it looks like. And I would guess that this is a sash buckle. It would have been worn like this. A sash is ribbon or a cloth belt, just a decorative piece of clothing that ladies would have worn. Probably Victorian times, I would guess. I found a lot of sash buckles. Typically they're very, very thin, just stamped brass construction, but that one is a beautiful piece. Very similar to a colonial knee buckle, but I can't say I've ever seen one that pretty, so I'm going to go with a little bit later sash buckle. That is an amazing find. Awesome. Never found anything quite like that.
Cool.
90. Silver dollar. There it is.
Oh.
That was deep.
Yeah.
It's a suspender.
Is it?
Yep. So what we have here is probably a late 1800s, maybe even early 1900s suspender clasp. Sometimes they do have patent dates or manufacturer's information on them. This one doesn't seem to. And this one in particular has a design that I don't think I have ever seen before. If we look at the top here, it looks like snake heads coming out of these tubes or pots. Maybe they're dragons. You know, I have to wonder if that has some significance or if it was just like an interesting motif that they decided to put on suspenders of the time, but that's going to require a little bit more research, I think. Incredible! A snake suspender buckle. This is such a cool property because since people have lived here since the late 1700s, we're finding things, you know, from that entire span of time. All of the coins have been from the last 50, 60 years or so, but a lot of the relics like these have been coming from, you know, 1850 to 1900, and some of these types of things are so interesting, especially when they have snakes on them. Really, really interesting. 86. Whoa. Look at that.
Seriously? That's something else there too. It's a ring. Oh my god.
Come on.
Yes.
A ring?
A ring
and
a necklace? What?
That's wild. Well, I can't believe it. That is the first time anything like that has ever happened, where I've opened up the plug and there's actually two pieces of what seems like silver jewelry in the hole at the same time. I have to guess the ring was on the chain, but how did the ring get off of the chain? Who knows? Let's take a look at this. It seems like there is an inscription or at least some writing on the inside of this. It's a monogram.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So over here gives us some indication of how old it is. It says Balfour.
Okay.
Would they make like class rings, right? Balfour?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. But there is a monogram, SMP. Is that a class ring?
54. 1954.
There we go. It looks like the stone is missing. See, this looks like some kind of epoxy where the stone was at one time. But it's likely down in there. We have a monogram, we have a year, with the chain as well.
Yeah.
It was probably attached to the chain with some other material,
Yeah,
right? Because
yep.
there's no clasp on this chain.
Yeah.
So it would have maybe like a piece of yarn or something was holding it on the chain. So it's going to be a task to find this stone maybe, but we'll see if we can do it.
Okay. Well, I think I've gotten into all the roots of this.
Yeah,
at
I
this
think-
point. It's not in that section.
I think we've done our best here.
Yeah.
What a find.
Yeah.
This goes in the special box.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Rebecca has something over here.
Like a cupboard hinge?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a hinge, but it does look like it's an escutcheon that was on furniture. It's very plated
Yeah.
still.
So is it plated with silver?
Or nickel or... Well, this could quite possibly be one of the coolest things I've ever seen found with a metal detector. When Rebecca first found it, I thought that maybe it was like an escutcheon or a piece of furniture. But then I started to rack my brain. This thing looks so familiar. And as it turns out, I actually messaged a friend who is a luthier. And this is a tailpiece for an old guitar. As a guitarist myself, an amazing thing to find with a metal detector. If you can imagine, these 3 holes here were placed at the very bottom of the guitar itself. It's slightly folded over the top of the guitar, the hole being right here, and the strings came out of these small holes here. I have never found a piece of a stringed instrument before. Typically the musical instruments we find metal detecting, harmonicas, sometimes jaw harp pieces. This is not only a stringed instrument, but it's a guitar. People who have been watching my videos for any period of time may know that all of the music you hear in the videos is mine. I'm a guitarist. I went to school for music, and this made my day. Such an amazing piece. I didn't recognize it right away. It's not something I'd ever even considered seeing found with a metal detector before, but here we are. If I had to take a wild guess, I would say maybe 1930s, 1940s, somewhere around there. A small parlor-sized guitar. It is very flimsy. What a find. That's a first. Hopefully not the last. So cool. 80. It's a coin. It's a coin. Oh no, it's a button.
Oh. Yeah, right.
I swear. It's an eagle button. It's an old one. Well, this building was built 1791. So when we're finding buttons here, we can find buttons from the whole span of habitation. This could be from any war since the Revolutionary War. Based on the design, I have a guess of where it's from, but we're gonna take a look at the back mark and see the front here and see if we can pinpoint exactly when it's from. Yeah, so there is an A in the center of the shield there. So eagle buttons like these will oftentimes have a letter in the center of the shield. A for artillery, I for infantry. Sometimes there's nothing and it's just a general service button. But on the back we do have a very clear back mark.
A back mark?
Yeah, so on the backs of buttons, they'll have the maker's mark of who made the button. You can see there it says Scoville, Waterbury. That's an awesome find. We've been wondering all day where all the buttons are because this was a farm and historically farmers lost buttons all the time. They're probably out in the fields, but we do find them around the buildings as well. We've only found 2 buttons so far today, and one of them just so happens to be an artillery military button. Amazing. The shank is broken, so we can, make a guess of why it's found its way into the ground right here. Shank broke off, button fell off the jacket and landed here, and it's been sitting here for couple hundred years. Amazing. So the property that we were detecting was down here behind the old house, the old home. But up on this beautiful hill, look at this view. We have this incredible family cemetery that I just did a real brief look around at the headstones, and it seems like the majority of them are from the mid to late 1800s, although there are two fairly new headstones. The most recent one was 2016. And when you're down at the old home, there's like an amazing view of this family cemetery way up here on the hill. Unfortunately, all of this hayfield is just a bit too long to do any metal detecting, and we're not gonna do any in here out of respect, but we're gonna try in this kind of grass down here in front, see if we can find anything. But if not, we'll go on back. It's a 97, which is ridiculously high. 99.
Especially for yours.
Let's see. I think it's out. Yeah. Full padlock. Well, it appears what we have here is a little brass padlock, and it looks like there's a name badge on there, but there's no name visible. So I'm wondering if maybe there was a sticker there. Certainly not 1700s, more than likely not 1800s, but it is a cool little padlock. And every once in a while, I'll find tiny little keys, little brass keys that went, you know, sometimes to dressers or desks, and little padlocks like this. We'll have to keep an eye out. See if we can find one of those today that went to this one. Still a very cool find. I don't find little ones this size very often, and the shackle is almost always deteriorated because it's iron and it rusts away to nothing. We still have it there. Still find. It's kind of all over the place. 84. Ooh, propane line. Good thing I didn't go too deep.
Yeah, I knew you were in that zone.
Yep.
Well, there's a propane line here, but there's also a kerosene line. That's how it runs. That's one I found earlier too.
All right, we'll stay away from that. 88, 87. We'll dig shallow here. It's a ring. Well, there was a question whether this target was going to be a propane line and get exploded trying to dig it up, but it ended up being a ring here. As we can see, it is not a precious metal, it's brass. And we'll give this a spray because sometimes on these old brass wedding bands, there'll actually be a carat mark on the inside. So as far as I can tell, there are no carat markings on here, but I have found them showing usually 14 carat. And it's unclear whether that's how much gold was in the plating itself, or if these farmers buying these brass wedding bands were actually under the assumption that they were buying gold when in fact it was just brass. I have probably found maybe a dozen or so of these brass wedding bands, typically on farm properties. And so it seems like they were very, very common, certainly more common than gold. I don't think I found any gold wedding bands at historic sites before. 2 rings today. Not bad.
Not bad at all. It's a button with an eagle on it.
Come on.
On the back.
With what on the back?
It's got, I don't know. I mean, it's got this thing attached to it.
What in the world?
Isn't that a button?
Sure is.
There's still something in here.
Come on. It's the rest of the guy.
The nail.
It's a broken axe head.
Is it?
Yep. Incredibly, Rebecca had this target. It was in the high 90s on her metal detector. She started digging, and first she found this incredible gold gilt military button, but as she kept digging, it seems like that high 90s target was actually, coincidentally, this broken axe head. You can see here, this is where the handle would have gone through. It was pounded on the backside, which probably resulted in it breaking. And it just seems like a crazy coincidence that this was also in the same hole. So what we have here is a gold gilt military eagle button. I believe it's quite a bit more modern than the one we found earlier, but one of the coolest things about this is it actually has this ring of wire through the shank of the button. As far as I understand it, this is not something that would have been standard on a uniform. I think this was done after the fact. Maybe it was worn as a piece of jewelry on another piece of clothing. Who knows? But it tells a story. Incredible. It actually looks like it might even have some fire damage, like it was melted a little bit.
That side, how it's black like that, just the one side.
A lot of times when things like this were in a fire, other items that are being burned will melt onto surfaces like this. That's kind of what this resembles. It's some melted black on the face of the button. Good for you. You stuck with it. Awesome, awesome find. It'll go well with the other eagle button from two different time periods.
Buttons.
Next to the bird bath. All right, folks, well, it is the end of the day. What a blast this place was. We spent virtually all day metal detecting, finding some awesome stuff. We've got it all laid out here. Let's take a look. All right, well, here is the pile of treasures for both Rebecca and I at the end of the day. In the back, we have just two of the many utensils we found today. We have a single very pretty marble. I can't say I've ever found one that looks anything like that before. A small padlock, two toe taps. It seems like a lot of the things we found today were in pairs. A pair of toe taps, a pair of probably 1880s flap buttons, a pair of absolutely incredible eagle buttons. I am fairly certain they're from two different time periods. I'm guessing this one is older, but I'm gonna have to do some research. And a pair of rings. One of them, a silver class ring, 1954, with a silver chain in the same hole. We speculate that they were probably together, the ring hanging off of the chain. Over here, a couple buckles. We have the snake suspender buckle, and then we have the beautiful, we're calling it a sash buckle. I don't think it's a knee buckle. It might be, but we're going to call this a sash buckle. All in all, I mean, an excellent day. We also have a pile of modern coins over here as well. Nothing older than wheat cents today. I'm sure they're here though, just a little deeper. Maybe next time. All right, folks, well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks again for watching. By the sounds of it, Rebecca and her family own many, many acres up here in the mountains, both fields and forests, so we will likely be back. Hopefully I'll see you next week for another new adventure somewhere up here in the mountains of Vermont.